What I see from most people that never start on business or they're considering to start, but they look like too afraid to do that. There's a number of beliefs that people have around this space that I think it's important to be addressed because most people believe in things that are not necessarily true. So we tend to have a lot of beliefs, especially around things we don't know much about. And there's a bunch of people that believe business space is just too hard and too risky for you to step in, and you shouldn't even try because you're likely to lose money and get to nowhere. Um, so I think this is important to be addressed because if we go back in our lifetimes, we can see that everything we actually accomplished, most things we didn't know how to do it before we actually started to do. Like you rode a bicycle the first time by just trying to do that. The same thing for you to walk, for you to speak, for you to learn whatever you wanted to learn. Because people tend to be looking for how can they do the things later on in life before they actually try to do them. And the way to actually get things done is by trying and not to try to understand how it is done. Because I can tell you, and pretty much I would say everyone is going to tell you the same thing. First, there's no preparation for you to step into anything because it doesn't matter how much you learn about a space, you will never be able to execute before you actually try and start to do it by yourself. So, even if you get a bunch of information, there's things that you have to learn throughout the process of you trying by yourself to do the things. So, it doesn't matter how much knowledge or information you get before. You can get some to get an idea, but for you to turn yourself into whatever you want, it's not even around your career, it could be to achieve other things or practice a sport. It's pretty much the same. You cannot learn a sport without practicing it. And you're not opening a book to learn how to practice a sport. You're just going to start. So it's pretty much the same. And there's risks, of course, that are addressed to this space. But I would say in life, there's nothing free of risk. You may not perceive it this way, but everything that you did in your life always carries some risk. Even things as simple as getting a walk outside or riding a bicycle, you can always just get a walk and a car can just go over you if you're distracted. Anything can happen. And of course, you can go on business and don't find your way to succeed in the first attempts. But this is the important thing. If you realize how many things you actually accomplish in your life by succeeding in the first attempt, you will understand that you didn't succeed on the first attempt pretty much anything. You don't start to ride a bicycle without trying multiple times. Walking is the same, speaking the same way. You don't succeed without failing. You need to fail. But one thing is to fail and learn and try again. Another thing is to fail one time and give up. So, anything you want to accomplish in life, you have to fail till you actually succeed. It doesn't matter how many times you try. In sports, you don't have people on like top tier in terms of competition. There's no one there that didn't start from the lower brackets. Sure, you may acknowledge there's some people that are gifted and they succeed to get to the top, but just by being gifted itself doesn't really allow you to scale to the top. It's a huge work to get to the top in pretty much everything you want to go for, because there's a lot of people trying to do the same. So essentially, business is the same. And another thing, people really perceive the world as being a scarce place in which you have to just go across people or just step on the others for you to succeed, because there's not a lot of resources for everyone. And this is not true at all. It's important to understand that there's multiple resources for pretty much everyone. And the way you succeed on entrepreneurship and other things as well in life is by focusing on yourself and improving yourself each and every single day. And you will naturally go up and succeed with time. So, this is what you need. And in fact, you can get a look into companies. They could be considerably big, and if you go back 5 to 10 years, they were not even in the space, which means they started only 5 to 10 years ago and they were able to scale massively. So don't think there's a limited amount of money for you to capture in any business you can go for, or even in your business career, even if you're not working for yourself. The only difference when you're working for other companies is that technically you will always be trading time for money, and you will be kept by how much you can do as long as you're working for others. So there's a gap between the scalable model in which you can work if you're working for others or if you work for yourself and build your own business. Because the most interesting part in business is not that you capture more for yourself, is actually that you're able to scale the business and eventually make money from the work other people provide in your companies. Essentially, you're just not trading time for money on that position, as long as you have people that allow you to make money that way. So this is another aspect that is kind of overlooked. People don't really see this, but essentially, we learn in life trading time for money pretty much as a standardized thing, but it doesn't need a really doesn't need to be this way. And once you can get out of this trading time for money, you actually come to understand the big difference you can have in your life, because you can just make things in your life you never even thought about doing before, because you're just assuming you had to work for 40 years, which means you will be binded pretty much there for almost all the time that you could have. So this is a number of aspects that need to be addressed. Again, failure is not something to be ashamed of, because a lot of people believe you shouldn't try if you're going to fail. But this is something that is just a huge lie. Because again, everything we succeed on, we have to fail before. So it doesn't matter how much times you fail. What matters is that you succeed and you kept going. and never give up. That's what actually makes your success and dictates the future you can acquire. As long as you keep trying, you will eventually succeed. And if you go back to a lot of people that are successful today, if they tell the story, you will understand that most of them said they spent years trying to succeed doing something and they failed during some years. But once they get things going, you can just do your way and then eventually scale yourself into this model. And you can't scale if you're working for others.